Hey, this is Alex Kubasek with the ConvertSource podcast. If you are sick and tired of creating content that people are not sharing, not engaging with, not consuming fully, and worst of all, not even taking action on, today's show is for you. So jump on in and join us in the ConvertSource podcast.
3, 2, 1.
When you want your leads and sales on autopilot and to accelerate your business, you come to the source. The ConvertSource podcast with Alex Kubasek. Let's go.
All right. How's everybody doing? So we've got another week here. This is the ConvertSource podcast. We come to you every single week on Tuesday. And today we're going to be talking about something that's, of course, important, but really monumental and a cornerstone in any business, especially if they want to be successful online. Of course, today we all know that there are thousands of apps out there. There are thousands of tools out there to create content, promote content. But really the problem is that there's so much content out there that's become noise, and it's because it's not created appropriately that gives brands the ability to leverage it to get people to engage with it, that continues to nurture them, that attracts them, that qualifies them, that pushes them through your funnel to actually get them to take action with you. And that's a big problem because then you fall into that huge white noise trap and basically just become another broken record, if you will. So today we're going to be talking about specifically how to create content and really just a couple of easy things that you need to do and what you need to focus on to create your content going forward. That's actually going to make it so that people are going to not only get attracted by your content, that are going to engage with your content, but are really going to also share and become a brand ambassador for your content to really help become a promoter of your business because you have helped them solve a problem. And that's really what it's all about. So that's what we're going to be going over today. So really the nice thing about all of this is that the truth is you're probably working a lot harder than you need to be actually. And most often, that's really what it comes down to. So many people think that they have to have the most cutting edge technology, the most cutting edge content. They have to make things sound so complex. We've talked about this in other episodes before, but really what it comes down to is if you actually want to help somebody, help them understand. That's really what it comes down to. So today we're going to be breaking down a couple of, like I said, really simple things that are going to make it so that people are going to be able to understand what the hell you're talking about and really be left with saying, tell me more, right? Because when it comes to our content and actually getting it and promoting it in front of someone, that's what we want them to ask. Because once we get them to ask, tell me more, or think to themselves, tell me more, I want to hear more, I want to learn more. This is really starting to kind of answer my question or help me solve my problem. That's when we have them on the hook. And that's when we really need to have content that is going to help pull them through our funnel with calls to actions and different things that are going to help solve their problem and get them from point A to point B. So one thing that I want you all to start thinking about as you are going through your content creation journey is, what are like the really annoying questions that people that you are prospecting with, that you want to do business with, really just even your ideal customer, what are the most annoying questions that they ask you? Whenever you're starting to do business, whenever you're either getting a request for proposal, or you're just at a cocktail party, or you're at a networking event, or somebody is asking you a question about what you do that you might actually want to do business with. What are those like annoying questions that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that somebody's asking me this again? It's so easy. There's probably a chunk of them, right? Because once you answer the one question, then they're going to answer or ask another one. Once you answer that one, they're going to ask another one. So like, what are those most annoying, mundane, common questions that people are going to ask you that without a shadow of a doubt that if you just literally had like a tape recorder that you could start playing whenever they asked, you could save yourself a lot of, air in your lungs. I want you to take a second. I want you to write those questions down. Feel free to pause this, but I want you to take a second, write them down. You're probably going to end up with somewhere around like the 5 to 10 area, which is totally fine. That's like the perfect amount. If you have more, great. If not, that's totally fine, but somewhere around the 5 to 10. So usually Whenever you get asked these questions, in your mind, you're already thinking, I'm really annoyed that I have to answer this because I'm tired of answering. I'm exhausted from answering it. Answering it is going to have me go into detail to explain this, to explain this. Already, you're making it harder on yourself. You're already doing more than you need to be doing because what somebody wants to hear is a simple answer. Because if you don't answer the first question to their problem or their query or whatever in a simple fashion that gets them to like perk up their eyebrow or be like, or kind of cock their head or think to themselves or just take a pause, you've already lost them. So essentially, if I start answering your question with some complex jargon and terms to make me sound really cool or like I'm the expert in my space, the reason why that doesn't work is because you have made the person that came to you for your expertise, you've made that other person feel stupid. You've made them feel like they're not smart enough to understand or the answer that you're giving them. And so when you've done that, you've now completely shut them off. If they're on one of your pages and they're watching a video of yours, they're going to X out and go to the next one. If they are talking to you directly at a networking event, they're just going to glaze over. And you've probably come across that before, but that's exactly why. You have literally scared them away. So the best thing you can do is answer a question in the simplest fashion to get them to just simply say, oh, that sounds interesting. What do you mean by that? Because now you've hooked them. Now you're able to start bringing them in. You're able to start nurturing them. Whenever, I mean, think of marketing your business as like dating. You don't go up to somebody and immediately say, will you marry me? That's just not how it works. You've skipped a few steps. No, the first thing you do is you go up, you extend your hand, you introduce yourself, you ask if you can buy them a cup of coffee or a drink or depending on where you are, something along those lines. But you go through a few steps that just get you a little bit further in the relationship, a little bit further, a little bit further. And what you're doing is you're nurturing the relationship. And of course, the reason why I'm saying this is because the way that you're nurturing the relationship is you're having a conversation. They're asking questions, you're answering their questions, and vice versa. And that means that you're able to start nurturing that relationship. You're not going to go into some complex algorithmic explanation whenever you're out to coffee or you're on a date, sipping on your coffee or your drink or at dinner or something. You're not going to go into some complex thing right out of the gate. You're going to they're going to ask you something very simple, like, what do you do for a living? And you're going to answer very simply, and vice versa. And so as you continue that relationship, they're going to become more interested because you've actually made them feel like you're engaging in a conversation versus, I know everything. Here's this complex answer. I'm going to tell you because it's going to make me look smart and blah, blah, blah. They don't want to see that. People don't want to be around that. And so the exact same thing happens with your marketing and how you're actually able to attract your ideal customer. You're able to start to then qualify, aka nurture, getting them to ask more questions, and then convert them into a lead or a booked call or a paying customer, regardless of really whatever your call to action is. That is as simple as it gets. And the way that you do that is you take those common questions that somebody asks you, or you are going to get every single time you open your mouth and say, this is what I do. You've written those down, and what you're going to do is you are going to record I'm going to literally have you write down right under that question a 5 to 7 word sentence that is literally going to say exactly the answer to their question. This is going to be hard for a lot of you because you're going to say, oh, well, there's this process, there's this, but then if there's this, then this happens. Stop it. This is exactly why people do not engage with your content. So do yourself a favor. Make it as simple as humanly possible. And just simply write a 5 to 7 word sentence right under that common question. And then what we're going to do is I'm just simply going to have you record a very short video that is literally just with your smartphone. one of the biggest underutilized tools in this world for marketing your business and your message is sitting in your pocket. People think, oh my gosh, I have to have this, hundreds of thousands of dollars studio or equipment and this, that. No, you don't need any of that. The reason being is because when you do things like that, you are literally pushing your ideal customer further away because they feel like they can't relate to you. They feel like they can't get in touch with you. So like celebrities, for example, on the big screen, you're, on the big silver screen, you're watching them and it's so produced and they're like, you're like, oh my gosh, they're a celebrity. You feel like you probably can't really get in touch with them, right? Whereas if you create content that's honest and genuine and relatable, that's like the key term today, making your content relatable. People will then engage with you and start that quote unquote dating courtship with your message and with your business to ultimately convert. And it's really that simple. I think so many times whenever people literally go to engage with people at a networking event, they are so exhausted by the thought of networking before they ever even get in the door. And it's because they think that they have to walk out of there with a deal. They have to walk out of there with a client or a truckload of leads or this, that, or the other thing. But what they miss is the number one golden ticket rule is conversations. Just conversing back and forth with people in the room. Because already when you walk into that room, you've already made a predisposition or you've already made a conceived notion that in order for me to come out of here successful, I have to have 17 signed contracts. But what you don't realize is that contacts equals contracts. So when you're doing networking, it's a volume game. And the way that it's a volume game where you won't feel exhausted is just having simple conversations, asked and answered and vice versa. Not some huge webinar, some huge seminar or some lecture. You're not a professor. Just very simple Q&A. Just conversations. It could be something as arbitrary as the weather all the way to, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. I was just talking to this person about it. We actually need that in our business. How do you guys do it? That is where you're going to be able to, and I highly recommend, if you want to really start perfecting your message in terms of how you get simple answers across in the nurturing process, go to a networking event. Go talk to people that you don't know. Of course, not in a weird way, but you understand what I'm saying. And so coming back to really how to put together this content that is going to be an automated tool that is going to be what I call your invisible sales engine. It's literally attracting people that literally have a question and you have an answer, because whenever you answer a person's query on like Google, for example, when your question or whenever your answer suits their question the best, you are going to come up first. It is that simple. It is called search engine optimization. Obviously, it's a little bit more complex than that, but that is the basis of search engine optimization. So when you have a question, where do you go? You go to Google or you go to a search engine, you type in what's called a query, a question, and then a search result pops up. And so typically you pick one of the first ones to answer your question. And that's because their content suited your question the best. So what happened there? You created that company created content that answered your question in such a straightforward and simple way. It was like a magnet. So they've attracted you. And then whenever you actually got to the page or the video where they were answering your problem, question, query, etc., they offered solutions. So whether it was a link for a free ebook or for a video series or for a free training or something to further dive into answering your question, now they're starting to nurture you. You've probably done this before. You had an answer, you had a question, you went to Google, you got an answer, you clicked on it, you signed up for something, You started getting some emails, maybe some texts, some different things, but to answer your question, provide you with a solution to your problem or your issue or your question. And that's where you start to get nurtured. Just like whenever you take somebody out for coffee, whenever you go get a drink, when you go get dinner, you're continuing the conversation. You're continuing to nurture the relationship. And so once it gets to a certain point where that person has been attracted, they've been qualified through the nurturing, you will be put to a call to action to take a further step, such as becoming exclusive or getting engaged or getting married, something like that, that is going to be or in this case, doing business together. It's the same thing because all buyer psychology is very similar. So when you look at it like that and you really break it down in like a simple chapter form to help people understand the solution that you provide, you're not only going to find out that it's a lot less work, but you're also going to find out that you have happier clients around you. You're surrounded by people who understand what you're saying, that enjoy being around you because you're not scaring them off. You're not making them feel stupid. And it's just like relationships. So coming all the way back full circle to basically how you create this content. Well, like I said, you write down the 5 to 10 common things that you know are going to be a pain in the ass to answer, that you're going to get asked no matter what. You write down a short, very brief, I cannot stress brief enough, simple chapter form answer that is 5 to 7, just words long, just a very simple sentence. You take your fancy smartphone, you open up the camera, you turn it on to the video setting, and you simply take a selfie style video recording the 5 to 7 word answer to that question. And so now what you've done is you've created the ability to make several different types of content across several different types of mediums. Because the thing is that, and we're going to be talking about this in other shows, but really creating an omnipresence for not just your brand, but for your message, for people to be able to engage with you on different types of mediums. So like that video you just created, you can put that on YouTube. All right. YouTube is one of the biggest search engines on the globe. And video is the most consumed version of content that there is. So you got one. Then you can take that video and you can get it transcribed and you can go into a little bit more detail to make a blog post. Now, technically, you really want to be around the 300 to 500, 700 maybe word range on a blog post, so you have a little bit more than 5 to 7 words to elaborate, maybe get a little bit more technical, but you want to stay pretty high level because on blog posts, we still need them to consume and feel like their question is just about answered, but they need a little bit more. So now that's 2. Then once you have that blog post, you can turn that into an ebook. Now you can use that to start to create a lead generation system to where you're asking somebody to fill out a form to basically their name, their email, and maybe their phone number in order to get that ebook. So now you got 3. And so you can start to see how you can create multiple different types of content. And then whenever you actually have many of these, you can string them together and create a course or a evergreen webinar. But you start to create different types of answer-based solutions to somebody's question. And so what you can start to see is like once you have enough of this content, you create a course, now you can charge for it. So there's many different ways that all of this kind of links together and intersects. And I hope that I'm giving you more ideas, but it all started with just simply answering a question in a simple form that got somebody to say, tell me more. And the way that you did that was you took the top 5 to 10 most pain in the ass questions that you know you're going to get, and you created simple answers for them so that people could understand the solution to their problem or their question simply. Now they're going to trust you more. Now they're going to be kind of like on your team. They're going to, they're going to be kind of more enthralled with learning more about you and your answer and things like that. And it's like, when you go onto like YouTube, for example, I'm sure that some of you out there might not have had this type of situation yet, but the way that the world is going, you may have found somebody on YouTube that like you really trust, or back in the day, you may have, had somebody that you really trust, like a mentor, and you looked them up on YouTube to see more of like their videos for like motivation and content things. But have you ever noticed how you just keep watching video after video after video after video? It's because you had a search, you had a question. You went to a search engine and you asked a question. That result came up because it best suited an answer for or best provided an answer for your question. And you continued to engage with it because it continued to provide value. It continued to nurture your question to help you solve it more. So that relationship started to build more trust and authority in the person that was answering your question. That is exactly what this system is doing. So now you can take all this content and you can put it in different types of mediums. You can advertise it. You can, you can do it through like digital advertising at Facebook, Instagram, Google, those types of things. You can use it in email marketing if you have a list. You can do it through search engine optimization on your website. Many different types of forms that you can now start to get people to exchange their name and their email to create more leads and build a list to answer their problems or their queries with these simple answers, these simple pieces of content that are just answering questions in a very simple form. And I keep really hammering down on this simple part. So many people think that they have to be some sort of professor or lecture people. And like I said in the beginning, all it does is just scare people away. And it's really, a shame too, because there are so many great businesses out there, and they have so many great ideas, and they most likely are the best answer for the right person for the job. Unfortunately, they have a hard time articulating their message, and it really makes it difficult for them to get clients and build relationships and nurture because they just don't know how to get their message across. People can kind of read on your forehead when you're not being completely transparent with them. And whenever you're not transparent with somebody, it makes it very hard to trust you because they feel like, I have to pull back a lot of layers to really get the answer to my question. This is a big waste of my time. I'm going elsewhere. And that's really what it comes down to. So if I can impress on you guys anything, and like I've said in the past, the only reason why I can talk about this is because I've spent the last 13 years perfecting all of this. And quite frankly, as transparent as I can possibly say, for the first probably half of my career in digital marketing, I fell flat on my face. I tried to sell services such as digital marketing, social media marketing, email marketing, video marketing, all those things in a very traditional sense. And it's because I did not focus on these pillars and these, online marketing foundational items that would make it so that I didn't have to work as hard. And so, of course, trial and error, yeah, of course, we all go through it, but that's why I'm sharing this with you, because I'm trying to make it so that you guys can skip the line. For once, it would be really nice, I would assume that you feel, if you could just have the answers to the test rather than having to cram or study. I'm sure in the past, you probably thought, man, I studied really hard for that test. I don't remember anything that I studied. Or, yeah, I got a good grade, but I didn't retain the information. However, it would have been more beneficial if I could have just gone out and I could have asked a question, searched for the answer, been able to apply it, theorize it, research it, and actually come to a conclusion and kind of build out my own pattern, build out my own journey to get to the answer. You probably would have retained the information a lot more. And also, that's how we do things in the real world. When you have a question, where do you go? And so what I'm trying to get across to you is, in this entire journey in somebody's mind, they all start at really one place for an answer. They go to a search engine, mostly Google, and they ask a question. They start their research. It's like real estate. Literally 95+% of all home purchases and sales start online. You're probably wondering where the remaining percentage is, and it's hysterical. Some people actually still advertise like with traditional, like the newspaper and the classifieds and things like that. But in this case, what what we're trying to do here is we're trying to help you create an automated arsenal or a digital arsenal of your message to also help make you omnipresent. And we're going to talk about this in another show, but to give you a little like sneak peek here, when you have all of this content ready, you can actually multiply, because this message is essentially an extension of you, right? This is an extension of your expertise to help deliver a message, to nurture someone, to help solve their problem. And also, not to mention, solving the problem most likely does end in some sort of like monetary transaction. We all know that. So in this case, what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you content, an arsenal of content, to make it so that you can multiply that content and that message and your expertise and your story to, instead of one-to-one, like at a networking event, even at a networking event, if you're in a group of people, one to maybe a few, to one to hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, all with, really, as cliche as it sounds, the click of a button. Now, of course, it's a little bit more, detailed than that, but in the sense of simply answering a question in a non-complicated fashion, that's as simple as it is. Of course, I could tell you specifically where to point, click, the theory, blah, blah, blah. I could tell you all of that. But right now, for this particular show, I'm here to simply answer, how do you create content that is going to attract people to get them to engage with you? And I know that there are going to be people that are listening to this who are probably thinking, I'm going to kick myself. I had no idea that it was that simple, or I've been working way too hard, or I've been wasting my time with this and the other thing. And I'm also here to tell you that you did not waste your time, because even if you were working harder, don't you think it's a lot easier to kind of cut back a little bit than to push forward a little harder? And chances are you probably found out and educated yourself in that process so much that you can actually kind of like chunk down a lot of that expertise and make it into other, multiple blog posts or multiple ebooks or multiple podcasts or multiple video series, or just multiples of anything to help expand your content arsenal, to help deliver more bite-sized, digestible pieces of content to answer problems, queries, questions, etc. And that is how you are going to actually attract people into your business that want to be there to do business with you. It is literally that simple. Of course, there are other traffic sources. And of course, I have, plenty of podcasts on that, different traffic sources. But at the end of the day, you have to have the right fuel to put in the tank to make the fancy car go fast. Right? You can't put low grade fuel in a Ferrari. You have to, in order for that Ferrari to perform at its optimal level, you have to put the right fuel in it. And so that's why we're taking these foundational items and we're saying, okay, here are the 5 to 10 questions that people are going to ask you no matter what. This is your new content marketing strategy. And you're going to make the answers as simple as humanly possible. And in the process, while you're making those answers simple, you're creating multiple different avenues of content that you can publish to different sources on your website, YouTube, ebooks, courses, etc. So that you can start to monetize your expertise. Whether it be in a traditional sales effort where you've nurtured the leads and now you have, your sales team converting them, etc. Whatever the situation might be, whatever the product is, whatever the service is, this system is literally rinse and repeat. And if, like, for example, I like to use the term of like shoe, or not the term, but like the product of like shoes, like big like shoe retailers. And they, will ask, how am I supposed to create content of the top, 5 to 10 questions, because I just have shoes that I sell. Why can't I just like advertise my shoes? Well, the problem is that there are hundreds of thousands of different types of shoes out there. How do your shoes differ from your competitor shoes that are going to make somebody choose you over them? Well, they're probably most of the time going to say, well, mine are a little bit cheaper. You don't necessarily have to make them cheaper. You just have to show somebody more value. If price is a question, it's because it's the absence of the value. So you have not done enough of your content development yet to be able to make it so that you don't have to worry about discounting your prices and things. If there is a question of price, it is because it's the absence of value. You haven't delivered enough value yet to sell them nurturing on why you versus somebody else. So whether it's shoes, whether it's multi-million-dollar contracts, etc. If somebody, and this is a really good principle, because I do truly feel like there's a very firm correlation between price and value delivered ahead of time. And that's why I say, if you really want to help somebody or you really want to get a client, etc., help them understand it. Make it simple for them to understand. Because let them then ask the difficult questions like, well, how do you do that? What does that mean? What does that look like? They can ask those questions after, but the thing is that there has to be an after in order for them to ask that. So like, for example, if you already confuse the hell out of them right out of the gate, there's not going to be an after. They're just going to walk away, X out, not watch, not read, not exchange their information for your ebook, etc. They're just going to walk away. So set yourself up for future conversations, and you don't need to go right in for the hard sell, because the thing is, if you go right in for the hard sell right away, chances are you're not going to have anything to sell them after because they're not going to be there. So make sure you do these foundational items with your content to make it so that you can answer questions very simply. You can then advertise it. You can use search engine optimization. You can promote, let's just call it. You can promote your expertise and your solutions to these questions in multiple different sources, multiple different variations, videos, blogs, etc., like I was saying. But now you can make yourself omnipresent. You can multiply your message to more than just one or two, a few, all at the same time. Because everybody has a different journey. Everybody's path to buying a home or going to the grocery store, however they are purchasing something, even though the psychology is similar, everybody is at a different part of their buyer journey. So you need to make sure that your content is relevant at the time that they're searching for it, at the time that they need it. And that's why you have to digitize it. So practice this exercise. Make sure that you are kind of pitching this stuff to people in terms of, ask me these questions. All right, now I'm going to role play it, because that is exactly how you're going to perfect your message so that you can really deliver the best value throughout the nurturing process, the cycle. And you're also going to start to notice that the more effective and concise your answers or your solutions are to queries and questions and problems that people ask, you're going to notice that the sales cycle is actually going to shorten. Even though some of you might be thinking, well, if I don't go into all the technical stuff right away, they're not going to believe that I'm an authority and blah, blah, blah. They're just going to walk away. So there's really no point. So that's why you have to nurture them a little bit. That's why you don't go in and say, hey, will you marry me right away? That person doesn't know you. You've skipped a couple of steps. So this is exactly how your content marketing strategy should be for 2022, 23, 24, 25, 26, and on. Because although new media sources, new kind of cool gadgets and apps and toys and different ways to consume that message may come up, because technology is always growing, the person buying it, the person consuming that message, that psychology doesn't change. We already know that. They might consume it in a different fashion, either on Facebook or on your website or here, there, or wherever. But that's just the medium. That's the source where they consume it, not how that person responds to it. So you need to make sure that this is your content strategy on how you make content to help build your business with people that you actually even want to hang out with. Some of the best clients are the ones that you don't mind having a 2-hour long conversation. You're like, oh, damn, I got to get back to work. Wouldn't it be really nice if you could just have fun conversations all day and get paid to do it? That's kind of what we're talking about here. More often than not, people make this too complicated. So really, practice this exercise. I can't stress that enough. Make it simple. That's where that saying came up with. Keep it simple, stupid. Not calling anybody stupid, but keep it simple. Allow people to be able to further engage with your conversation. If you answer all their questions right out of the gate and confuse the hell out of them, they don't have any more room to ask you anything. They don't need to engage with you any further because you've probably already made them feel stupid and they can't even digest all that information. That's really important. It's like opening up, literally trying to drink from a fire hose. So do yourself a favor. Really focus on this and do this exercise a couple of times because you might find out that also there are some new questions that people are starting to ask. As you get better at these questions, they might have some new questions that you hadn't thought about. Also, a good place to, like, if you're like, I'm a brand new business, I don't really have any customers or I don't have any expertise or any common questions, that is completely fine. Go to different blogs. There is a section at the bottom of a blog for the comments. Go to YouTube, look at all the comments. A little insider tip, look at the comments where people are like, well, you didn't answer this, or even the negative comments. Really start to figure out what people are not getting from other people's content in your space, and really start to make content based around that. Even if you have the top 5 to 10 most commonly asked questions, start to create something like a comment, like should ask questions. Yeah, you're asking these ones and we get these all the time, but you actually should be asking these. And the way that you're going to be able to do that is, really one of the best ways to succeed quickly is cut through the noise. And the way to do that is start creating solutions for the things that your competitors won't do or haven't thought of yet. And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to go to their blogs, their social posts, their YouTube channel, and you're going to look for the things that people are still asking after they've consumed a piece of content, watched their video, read their blog posts, etc. And so now you're going to be able to start promoting content based around that very simply so that they start to engage with you because they're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I wanted from this guy or these folks, but they couldn't give it to me. They didn't answer that, but they are, so I'm going to trust them. So now not only are you answering the common questions and getting that space, but you're cutting through the noise and you're breaking into new eyeballs at less effort. And all you're doing is just creating content that was solving a problem that your competitors would not answer, didn't think to answer, etc. And you're shortening that sales cycle because you cut through the shit right away. So really listen or watch this episode as many times as you possibly can. Do this exercise as many times as you possibly can to make sure that your content marketing strategy is sound. Because once it is, you're going to be able to take any piece of content, drop it into the top of your funnel, and you're going to be able to spit out money at the other side. Because all you did was you attracted them by answering their question. You provided nurturing and solutions along the way to convert them into a paying customer. The engine is that simple. So guys, if you have questions about this show, this particular episode, other episodes, just reach out, support@convertsource.com. Again, that is support@convertsource.com. We're going to be able to answer all your questions. And even if you want more knowledge on something else or a deeper dive into a past episode or anything, or something that we haven't even covered that you want to know about, I want to be able to help answer and solve your problems. Because also, new questions that you're asking, probably other people have those questions too. So it's going to be really good for me to create content on that to answer your questions. It's kind of like this cool, it's not really like B2B marketing or even B2C marketing. It's more H2H marketing, human to human marketing. And when you start to actually look at it as human to human marketing, really just having a conversation, more gets done. More knowledge is exchanged because there aren't barriers up. So if you have questions, support at convertsource.com. If you want new shows, support at convertsource.com. If you just want to have a funny chat, support at convertsource.com, and we'll answer that too. But really, feel free to reach out. I would love to be able to chat with you, help you in your business. I wish everybody the very best in their journey, whether it's your life pursuits, whether it's your business pursuits, whether it's your familial pursuits, your money pursuits, whatever. I wish you the very best. We wish you the very best. And I want to be able to help you provide an abundance in your life. And if you have any questions that I can help solve to be able to make you do that, support at convertsource.com. Thank you so much for watching. If you're on YouTube or wherever, or really just listening, if you're in the car or wherever you're listening to this podcast, watching it, thank you so much for participating. Just feel free to reach out to us and just say hi even. We'd love to just chat with you, have a couple of laughs, etc. Find out more about your business if we can help you. But like I said, support at convertsource.com. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you the very best in your life. So God bless. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
When you want your leads and sales on autopilot and to accelerate your business, you come to the source. The Convert Source Podcast with Alex Kubasek. Let's go.